Hello, everybody. I hope I'm audible and visible to everybody too.
Yes.
All right. Good evening to you, ladies and gentlemen. And my name is Shekhar Lele, and I head marketing for Rustomjee. And it's indeed a privilege to have all of you with us here this evening. As all of you are aware, Rustomjee Crown is one of our finest projects, in fact, the finest project that we are executing at the moment. And it is poised to become South Mumbai's finest gated estate very, very soon. I'm sure you're also aware that we've completed the RCC work and the topping out of the 68th floor of Rustomjee Crown Tower A and Tower B. And we've been able to do this, we've been able to do a lot of work even during the lockdown, simply because of the best practices that we follow, because of the construction partners that we have, for example, Larsen and Toubro, and the fact that this project has all the attention and the entire energy of our promoters, starting from our chairman and managing director, Mr. Baman Irani, to our director, Mr. Chandresh Mehta, director, Mr. Pasi Chaudhary. It has all the attention, it has everything that, that it takes to make this a marvel, to make this a one-of-a-kind project, and to make this a project that will be proud to carry not just your nameplates in front of your doors of your homes, but also the Rustomjee name against the Rustomjee Crown plaque. The reason why we've come together this evening is because we wanted to take you through a little about what we've been doing at Crown over the past few months, and how every day at Crown is an innovation, how every day at Crown is doing things differently, doing things better. Despite all the plans that we might have had on paper, these plans are constantly work in progress. We've got our promoters visiting the site regularly and trying to bring in small things, trying to bring in big things that will make a difference to the way you live, and that will make a difference to the way you and your family use this place, the space that you will call home, both outside and in. And as you're all aware, a home means many, many things to people. It's a testimony to your family, it's a testimony to your life. And it's an endeavor at Rustomjee to give you nothing but the very best. And to take you through the details of this from a design perspective, from an architectural perspective, and also to tell you a little about how things have changed in the last few months, in the way people use their homes, in the way people use both common spaces and their personal spaces, which is their homes. We've got with us a celebrated interior designer, and gives me immense pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, to introduce to you from Rustomjee, our head of architecture, Mr. Atul Date. Atul is a master's in architecture and comes with many decades of rich experience that spans not just Rustomjee, but many, many leading design and construction firms. Atul is pivotal in all Rustomjee landmarks that have been created. In fact, we're completing Rustomjee elements. People have already started moving in Juhu. It's a beautiful project, and it carries the seal of Atul Date. I'm also extremely delighted to introduce you to one of India's leading, and I would dare I say, one of the top 10 interior designers of India, Mr. Alfaz Miller, who's with us. Alfaz has been associated with Rustomjee in not just in a consultative capacity, but he's also done a lot of work in some of our show apartments. And these show apartments look absolutely stunning. I don't really want to introduce Alfaz because I think the design world knows him really well. He's done some stellar work for the GVK International Airports. He's done work for the Mumbai International Airport. He's done work for the Bangalore International Airport. He's also done a lot of work for hotel chains, including the Taj. And of course, a slew of corporate clients and a slew of the who's who of the upper crust of the city. So that's from me, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be open to any questions that you may have at the end of the session, and you can type those in the Q&A section right below your Zoom panels. So I now hand this virtual stage over to our Chief of Design and Architecture, Mr. Atul Date, to take you through the journey of Crown and what this beautiful, the beautiful journey, the even more beautiful destination that it will take us to. Atul, over to you. Thank you.
Shekhar, Siddesh here. I think Atul's dropped out. I'm trying to get him back online. So he just dropped out a minute ago, I think.
All right. So we'll wait.
Shekhar, if you don't mind, since we're trying to get Atul on board, to respect everyone's time, should we start with Mr. Alfaz's presentation
Yeah,
first?
you can start. You can start. You can start.
Thank you, sir.
Sure.
Yeah. Start with the wheel. Hello. Shekhar, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear, Alfaz. Can you
Yeah.
see the wheel on screen?
I can see the wheel on screen.
All right, great.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's a privilege and an honor to be invited to this virtual conference, virtual talk by Rustomjee. Rustomjee is close to my heart because in one of their earlier buildings was my family home, and I've known them since then. But now we have both a friendly and a professional, a thoroughly professional relationship, which is clearly mandated to improve, do a lot of design engineering, value engineering to some of their projects. And I am proud to say that I've been involved actively with 2 previous projects and now with Crown. Crown being the Rustomjee Crown. It's the crown of their achievement, which will crown their achievement. And I dare say that Rustomjee is one of my clients, which is very open, very progressive, open to suggestions, wants things done in a practical manner. And so I start my presentation now. Atul, I've taken over because you were off.
Go ahead, Alfaz, go ahead.
Yeah. So I'm saying for most of our projects, but I've just put this little thing together, that what does interior design mean? Interior design is not just furnishing or decorating. It is more than that. The city architects and Atul create that experience from the outside. Iconic structure, something that is stable, something that is futuristic, something that meets your needs. But after seeing the building, the true essence of a project is in fact living in it, experiencing it, and coming back with a positive feedback. And that's what I say. You might design iconic buildings, but it's your immediate space, it's your community space, it's the people around you that make it into a home. So what I've just done, a very quick presentation to tell you that in aspects of interior design, there are 5 major aspects. You start with the first slide, please. This is one of them. You've come to comfort. Start from experience. Yeah. So there are 5 pillars of interior design. One is the experience. One is the responsibility. One is future. One is application, and one is comfort. This makes 5. Now, what is experience? Next. Experience is your sensory experience, what you feel, what your senses feel, how you feel in that space, what vibes it gives you. It's your physical experience, how you feel physically. It's your mental experience and satisfaction. Is this the societal experience? We don't live in a vacuum, we live in society. And that's become more important after the recent pandemic, that societies matter. So there's a societal experience and there is an experience of status. These are the experiences which we try to achieve in the interior design. Now comes responsibility. Next. Responsibility. We have a responsibility to ourselves, to our own selves. We have a responsibility to our family. We have responsibility, a certain responsibility to society at large. We also have a very important responsibility to our environment. And we have, of course, mankind has strived in communities. You may have society at large, but it is the feeling of community that gives you the completeness and the balance. So this is our responsibility, and what we do should address these aspects. Go ahead. Now, why do we talk of the future? The future is becoming very, very important because things are changing very rapidly. Like somebody said, you know, the technological advances from the early 1900s to the late 1900s, if it was on the scale of 100, after the technology revolution, in about 7 to 10 years, we covered 100%. Now there is a quantum change every 7 years. So the generation is not a generation. A generation today means 7 years. So how do we address the future? We address the future from the point of view of technology, that whatever we do should not get outdated and should be adaptable, should be amiable to what technology will offer us. Also, it has to be maintainable. We can create a Taj Mahal for you. We can create a large project with you with all sorts of gizmo. But what happens if you as a person or the society in general or the condominium is not able to maintain it? Also, the world and we are having, because of medical advances, we have an aging population. We have to understand and accept our aging population and tailor our design considering that India still has, although there are nuclear families, but still there are many joint families. And the project, the design, the finishes, the details should cater to people of all ages. You might be living alone, you might be living with parents who are plus 80. How does the design adapt to that aspect? Then again, I repeat here, for the future, environmental considerations are becoming huge. Huge. I'm involved with so many projects even now in glass towers, which are centrally air conditioned. Because of government guidelines and the need for fresh air, we have had to break open glasses in buildings and put filters on AC to live with a slightly higher temperature, but definitely with more fresh air. Now, these are considerations which are all being addressed by us in the architecture and in the interior design. And finally, in the future, is the health of our population. So what do we do to keep that in mind? There are all these aspects from the design point of view, from the architecture and interior design point of view, from the facilities management point of view, and the amenities point of view are being addressed. I need not say most of you have committed to the apartment and seen those fancy videos, but I mean, what Crown is creating, not a home. A home is a given for you. What Crown is creating is a community. And a community and what we call society in Bombay, but community at large internationally, is, see the experience today. We are living, working, exercising, entertaining ourselves in close communities. So the sense of community and how you handle interrelationships becomes important. And architecture and interior design should foster community, should foster future health. That's important. We live in a good building where people see eye to eye and things work smoothly. So design, like I'll tell you, I must, at the end of this wheel, I will tell you a little experience. Go to application. Go to application. Application means, I mean, whatever we are designing, I mean, we've got concept architects coming from all over the world. Atul and I have to handle, we have to bridge between international concepts and realities in India. So we have to balance, while we have to take what is the best of international technology, we have to adapt it to the Indian context, knowing that we are still traditional, we still want diyas to be lit in Diwali, We want to play holy. I mean, these are things which we have to take into account, and design has to address all this. So coming back to application, you know, firstly, what has become most important in this case is to do things in a cost-effective manner. You know what the world is going through. There is going to be a huge financial implication of what we are doing. So everything that we do has to be cost-effective, not only in capital cost to Rustomjee, but in recurring cost to you. I am making that commitment on behalf of Rustomjee that we will not take any steps. I mean, I've gone through the whole grind. I've worked internationally. I've bought international products. I did a job in Delhi where we did some good external lighting. And when one of the lights fused, the vendor told me the bulb cost 70,000 rupees. I mean, that is not on in this project. We have to be cost effective, capital and running cost. We have to be sustainable. We have to be sustainable. That is our joint responsibility. We have to be safe. We have to be safe. Safety is an important consideration. And it is not just about appliances and about exit devices and about smoke detection. Safety starts from your common, simple thinking. In everything that we design and specify, we have to be safe. We have also to be durable. I mean, here we don't change our houses like we change our shirts. People buy homes for a lifetime. That is the Indian psyche. It is not just banaya or move kiya. And secondly, and lastly, you've seen apartment building after handover, work keeps going on for 3 years, damaging common lobbies, damaging the elevators, damaging and disturbing your peace with some guy moving in. So we are trying to work out with Rustomjee options of plug and play. So while things will look very, very nice and designed, but the whole approach is to manufacture some interiors and get them in. Now, my last slide, comfort. At the end of all this, comfort is important, no? You want things to be comfortable, you have to design things ergonomically. Now, if you're ergonomically, it's small things. It is the height of your switchboard. It is the level of your lock. It is the level of your view glass from the door. It is the width of your doors when you're getting in ready-made furniture. So there are lots safety. The ergonomics begins with all your various aspects of interior design. And of course, there is a mental aspect to it. You know, you have to do things which give you a certain soothing experience and a certain peace. There are some properties which you enter and you feel that I'm not getting good vibes. Why is that? You go to 2 apartments which are similar, done up differently. Why do you feel good in one, you don't feel so good in the other, and you feel depressed in the third? So at least in terms of the common areas that we are doing, we assure you that we will do things in a manner which will give you good mental satisfaction. Again, now whatever we use, if we don't plan for backup, if we don't plan for a backup to backup, it's a mess. Today, I'm sitting in this webinar with a phone, with an iPad. I've got my Wi-Fi on and I've got my Geo dongle on in case something fails. So when you're making things future ready, we have to provide for backup and we have to make things visually pleasing. We have to, the building is not only, the home is definitely going to be a status symbol, but more important than that, it's going to be friendly to you. So my last thing to you before I show you some of my work very fast is that we keep talking of smart homes and smart cities. We want to make it smart, but we also want to make it sensible. So my buzzword is sensibly smart. And what we will give you, sensibly smart, not just smart and with all sorts of gizmo, Also, we give you something. We give you what is called affordable luxury. These are our two catches. Okay, I'll just run through some of them.
Alfaz, so I'm sorry to interject, but I think because Atul had to log off because of a technical glitch, we sort of changed the schedule. So I want to bring back Atul into the fold right now. And
right, perfect.
I want Atul to actually start the session with some of the things that we've done at Crown, which were possibly not exactly part of the original plans. Talk about the kind of work that we've been doing there in the last couple of months. What have been some of the learnings for us in the, as a consequence of what we've seen in the past few months happening around? And therefore, how some of the things that we've planned, some of the things that we've newly brought in, are going to make a difference to the way people live at Crown. So with that, Atul, are you now available and can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Great, Atul. So we'd love to hear from you now, Atul. Let's start with, what is it that we're doing at Crown and what our learning has been and how is it that we're improvising every step of the way?
Absolutely. Siddesh, can I share my screen? I think it will be easier because it will be easier for me to, control the slide movement as well. Is that okay if I can share my screen?
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Okay, I hope it's quite clear.
Absolutely, Atul. Crystal clear. We can see your screen. We can hear you very well. All yours.
Lovely. Good evening, everyone. Shekhar must have introduced me, but for those who do not know me, I am Atul Date, been with Rustomjee for 10 years, been in this field for almost 25 years. Worked not only on luxury residential projects, but also worked on hotels, also worked on commercial real estate, also worked on clubs and other areas in public realm, as they say in our architectural parlance. So with that, with Rustomjee for the last 10 years, and it's been an amazing journey and it continues to be an amazing journey. As Shekhar said, every architectural project actually keeps on evolving. There is obviously something that is cast in stone on day one, but there is always something left which actually captures the essence of the dynamics of time. Things progress. We are not living in a static world. We are living in a dynamic world. So obviously, the buildings and the environments that we create needs to be responsive to that. There is a renowned architect called Frank Gehry. You can obviously Google him. He's one of the masters of architecture, as they say. He said, architecture should speak of its time and place, but yearn for timelessness. And all great design must involve compelling application of ideas that are contextually relevant. So I think what he said makes amazing sense, especially in today's times. We are fighting this pandemic, we are going through this pandemic, but our buildings should stand the test of time. And all iconic buildings or communities like Crown possess a multitude of many such ground or path-breaking aspects. Something that is unique, something that serves as a beacon for all buildings or spaces or communities that is created in that moment of time. So I think it is very crucial to understand that the design, and when I say design, I'm only not talking of architecture, I'm not talking of interior, I'm talking of the complete confluence of all the design process that goes into making a building, making a community, creating a community. I'm talking of landscape design, I'm talking of architectural design, I'm talking of facade design, I'm talking of structural design, I am talking of signage design, I'm talking of interior design, I'm talking of interior lighting. So there are so many aspects of design element, and when they actually mesh together, they have to mesh so beautifully that you need to understand each and every fabric of that individual design element if you really need to appreciate the kind of effort that has actually gone into a product. Very few people actually from the developer side come back and tell you what is the underlying thought behind that design. So I think design is a powerful and visual objective tool that influences the physical and the mental well-being of people who experience it. And it is not only looking good, it is beyond artistic prudence. I think it's about creating those beautiful abodes and environments that elicit positive emotions when they are meshed together with user experiences. Because finally, it's not about those walls, it's not about only those trees, how you as a user are going to experience that. I think that is a thing that we actually want to, as designers, capture, and it needs to be really sublime and heartwarming. So, the three towers, something that we already know that Tower A and Tower B is up. The podium work is going on in full speed. So this is what we envisage our dearest Crown project is going to look like. So what is the concept at heart? What are the things on which the entire ethos or the basis of Crown design stands? It starts with the basic design philosophy that permeates all Rustomjee projects. And we genuinely believe it in letter and in spirit. I wouldn't read out what it's there because everybody can do that. We genuinely feel that we need to craft those unique and responsive spaces because the lasting nature of architecture and design has the ability to influence and impact the quality of life for those who use it. And this is absolutely true. We've seen it happen in projects. We've seen customers with tears of joy in their eyes when they actually experience and actually start living in our projects. So what does Crown offer that is unique? Shekhar talked about, yes, most of you must have heard it from a salesperson's point of view. Most of you've heard the marketing jargon. Most of you heard the marketing spiel. But I'm not going to talk to you about rate per square foot or cost per square foot or EMI or payment plans, nothing of that sort. I am here only to talk about what has gone behind in the design, why we feel that Crown is unique than all the other peers around. So apart from being an iconic gated community that is nestled within the concrete and glass buildings that you see all around, the prime concept that we thought about when we looked at Crown as something that is in the entire South Central Mumbai micro market is actually capturing nature and capturing it in its purest form. Who else can do it better than a Southeast Asian, Thailand-based landscape consultant? Who else could do it better than possibly a designer who is from Bangkok? One of the best interior design consultants in the world, PIA. That is whom we hired. We hired Josh from Landscape Collaboration for doing the landscape design. Why? Simply because they could relate to the same ethos or the same mindset that we had. And I think it's about belief. If you believe in what we believe, that is where our minds gel, and that is why we can create a beautiful product. Crown is an iconic design, and that boasts of many aspects that are shared by some of the international masterpieces. And I have listed down only a few of them. Obviously, a unique silhouette. Unique doesn't necessarily mean it has to be totally different. It is simply that I am standing true to my test of time. Very clean, pure, simple lines. Honest use of materials. We do not want to copy any materials. We want to be as we are. There is no faux element. Faux is a fakeness. There is no fakeness of element. Then there are moments of courage in the building. I would show you certain slides as we move on, where we have, for the first time in the history, we've created a hanging garden. One of the things was, yes, in one atrium we've created a hanging garden. Why not replicate it there? But that would have been gutless. So we actually took a leap of faith and created something different that I would show you later on. Amazing engineering. Yes, you see many buildings that are 60-storied. Yes, so what's so great in it? The greatness is the way in which we've treated our facade for the entire project. The way in which we've ensured that people staying in Crown experience the nature at its best. What is the point in me buying a house or apartment on a 50th floor if I'm not able to enjoy beautiful spring breeze on my face? What is the point if I'm not able to open my windows? So first time in the country, we have a unitized curtain wall facade with integrated sliding windows. It is not there anywhere in India. It took a lot of courage. The entire facade is designed, it is tested, and it is challenged to the best of the factors that are there to offer, be it hurricanes, be it the Nisarga cyclone that we experienced. So everything is tested. Then challenging the context. Everybody knows that we should have a garden at ground level. We said, no, why will we have a garden at ground level? Let's take the garden, let's take the podium, let's take the garden from the ground and move it right on top of the podium. We had to spend almost 1.5 times in the structural cost just to ensure that the topmost level of podium takes care of the soil load, takes care of the trees, where we are able to plant indigenous species of trees. So that is a challenge to the context. And then finally, it has a story to share. What is our story in Crown? We are trying to create an urban resort. You should come back to this place and say, wow, I don't want to leave this place because everything that I have ever aspired for, Crown has everything for me, and I don't need to step out of the gate. So I think those are some of the things that make my project or make our project iconic. Space, you speak volumes. That everybody speaks in terms of square feet. Nobody speaks to you in volume, but I think we should speak in volume, because volume is the thing that gives the entire space the quality of its ambience, the quality of wellness. And I think space is something that has got the third dimension, and that's the reason it should not be looked at as a project where it is measured in square foot, but measured in cubic foot. Wellness, I think both physical and spiritual, because we strongly believe in Rustomjee that home is a very emotional thing. There are very few things in life that people are emotionally attached to. And there are very few moments where people are emotionally involved. So I think buying a home, investing in that home is that emotional fulcrum that we always want to have. And our future is defined by the way in which we experience that space. Obviously, things that Alfaz talked about earlier in his interior design presentation: security, safety, aesthetic intent. Those form the core of our design, because finally it's the functionality that binds the iconic and the sustainable. It needs to be functional first. Everything will have a look and feel, but it has to function first. Sustainable public realm with landscape as the epicenter. I talked about it because that is where we genuinely felt we made a difference from what our peers had offered. Having 35 to 40 foot tall indigenous tree species planted on a podium is something that you don't get to see. Having a space where you can actually experience it at multiple levels is what you don't get to see. And I think once you have an urban resort residence that is stacked around a vibrant landscape or a tropical courtyard, where it's not only nature, and landscape is one aspect of nature that we've used. The one other aspect of nature that we've used in its purest form is water. We've not provided for a conventional swimming pool, which possibly everybody provides. We provided, or rather we re-engineered that term of swimming pool and made that into a lagoon, where in a lagoon, you have multiple areas which you can actually enjoy water. And for multiple gentry, you can enjoy water. There are people who want peace. There are people who want frolic. Then there are areas where people want to do serious swimming. Now that entire lagoon or that water body that we've created, which is at a stepped level, that is how it is treated. The experience that he derived from my landscape architect was the Sahyadri Ghats, where he saw the water rushing down and accumulating at the bottom of the foothills. So we took that concept and replicated it over here. And every inspiration that we draw, if it's drawn from nature, we actually connect to it. And that is why we strongly believe that our design needs to be sustainable. Our design needs to be in tune with nature, because that is where our mental peace, harmony is derived from. Thoughtful aspect of design. I think I can keep on talking about the thoughtful aspects, the things that we've done inside. And I think our salespeople generally take you through all this. But I think it's about the house or the apartment being ready for your future that matters. Technology will keep on evolving. Technology will keep on progressing. How much and how far to embrace it is left to the individual occupants. What we've done is given you a blank canvas. The canvas on which you could possibly paint a charcoal or possibly paint an oil painting. Is my canvas big enough, adequate enough, ready enough to have all of that? Yes. We've created the backbone, we've created the infrastructure to leave you enough room to maneuver so that you as an individual can create an idealistic abode that suits you. And last but not the least, we strongly believe that aesthetic is a consequence and not a precursor of design. And friends and people and family, I would say you are already a part of Rustomjee family. I think one thing that Crown does, and Crown does it to a hilt, is narrates the story with a heart. So the thing is, you know, it's very nice to hear all this. You know, it's what people say, a regular intellectual gyan wali baat hai, but it's not about, you know, just feeling nice. There is a lot of science and there is a lot of thought has gone behind developing all this. And there is a logical process by which we've actually attacked this. So as you see, SOUL, that's what we call soul of our design. Soul, sustainable, optimized, unique, and livable. So we look at design, and when I say all designs in Rustomjee in that fashion, and Crown specifically. Why? Because Crown has got multitudinal things to offer on all these things. So what goes behind that veneer of design that you see is the thought that looks at all these four aspects: sustainable, optimized, unique, and livable.
Atul.
Yeah.
Great. I think, honestly, thanks for that essence. It's very important to know that, you know, everything is thought from, the conception, and we keep building and keep changing and we keep adapting as things go forth. I think a lot of people are interested in knowing what is it that we've, changed along the way. What are some of the new things that we'd like to talk about? What are some of the things that we've done in the past few months, which has either been a slight departure from what we had planned earlier, or it's basically an improvisation on certain thought processes that we had, obviously aligned to what's been happening. So would you want to quickly touch upon something as simple as why we've planned an access where, you know, for example, the driver of the vehicle does not have to move out of the car to gain accessibility?
I will touch upon them. Just give me a few minutes, Shekhar. Sure. I by your point, I'll just run through this in a few minutes so people just get an idea of what has gone behind it in terms of the scientific logic. Correct. Most of the people believe that it's purely from an aesthetic point of view that something is done, where has enough amount of study being there behind it? Is it a well thought of decision? So that is the reason I just skip, run through these slides very fast to get down to the things that we talk about.
All right.
One is sustainability, the part of the soul, where detailed climate analysis is done. We looked at rainfall, we look at winds, we look at the way the heat map is, we look at all the seasons of the year. Then one important thing that we also look at in sustainability is envelope design. What is the kind of envelope that we should have for design? What are the baseline metrics and what are the design considerations that we need to have, right? From walls, roof, glass, what is the window to wall ratio, the kind of heat that would come in, all that. Because at the end of the day, we know that finally it is the user who is going to spend his hard-earned money paying that electricity bill. I should, in my thought process, always keep the user in mind. So optimization, for example, various factors are listed on the left. Obviously, our internal sales team must have taken you through it, but things like traffic, vertical transportation, security. Shekhar talked about what was the initial thought process. Initial thought process was, yes, we already had a backbone for it. Now, with post-COVID conditions, how are we actually allowing visitor entries? How are we segregating different entries? How there is a separate maids entry, how there is a separate guest entry, how there is a separate entry for Ubers, the Olas, how is the entry touchless? So where, very frankly, we already had designed the backbone in mind. We have actually just taken it to the next level, tuned it up, and ensured that we have touchless entry as much as possible. Majority of the things are addressed with the help of a RFID, that is a radio frequency identification device. There are also strategies where you are looking at the elevators which are not going to be maintained the way they have traditionally been maintained. So the annual maintenance contract is given with an elevator. Now what we have done post this is we do not want the elevator to break down in the first place, which means the IoT sensors or the Internet of Things is the full form of IoT. Whatever the sensors are there inside the elevators give you early warning signals. So even before something breaks down, the people will come in, replace that part so that there is least amount of inconvenience. So optimization, we are talking of what are the strategies, so what are the security checkpoints, and uniqueness. As I said earlier, functionality actually straddles both the iconic and the sustainable. So there are various things that we look at: use, the experience, the microclimate, the frontage, all that. Livability aspects. We actually do a competitive study on what all other competitors are offering and what are the proposed amenities that we need to offer. What are the amenities that make sense? Because I just don't want to provide the amenity if it is not getting used. And then we have a design metric. Very simple. What is the design parameter? What are the targets that we've set for ourselves? Whatever is the conventional benchmark and whatever is the practice, our target is always higher or better than it is. On all the things of sustainability, optimization aspects, the unique aspects and the livability aspects. Right from indoor air quality, people don't even talk about it. But in today's climate, we actually know how important is the indoor air quality. It is very important to understand it more so ever now than any other time. We need to have that cross ventilation in our rooms. That's why everything that we thought of has actually paid off, and paid off handsomely now, because we thought about the future when we conceived the project. It's just that we are now imbibing it and tweaking it if those specifications have not been finalized. So I think those are the things that Shekhar talked about. So in terms of the master plan, in terms of the thing that we are looking at, I think you've already seen this. So we talked about segregation of traffic, how there is a separate entry for service staff, how there is a separate entry for sale, how there is a separate entry for fire tender movement. All that is there. We have clearly delineated ramps. So I think movement in and around the building is something very, very crucial. And I think at Rustomjee, we strongly believe, that people don't buy what you do. They always buy why you do it. And what you do it simply proves what you believe in. And for all of you today, I think the main aim is actually to shed more light on the why or the underlying thought of design. And I think for all of you who invested, or rather some of you who are on the verge of making that final closure call, I think understanding this design intent is very, very important, because it not only serves to affirm the belief in the product, but also most of you would be pleasantly surprised on the varied unspelled aspects of the project that deal with dynamic community interaction. Things like the flexibility of design that we have already planned in the project that you could currently start suddenly utilizing now. You suddenly feel, oh, my project has already thought about it. And I think that makes a huge amount of difference. Adoption of technology, renewed focus on well-being of the crown occupants. Many things are already there. We've just now able to highlight them and showcase them in a much better light. And I think nothing is more important than the well-being of the crown residents and the crown occupants. And I think that makes the project adaptable to ever-changing uncertainty. Today there is COVID, tomorrow there could be something else. Is my project geared to handle all that? Answer is yes, my friend, absolutely. So I just love to go through these images. These have already been shown, but the project is so dear to me that we feel that every time I look at it, I always get a high. I feel, oh wow, this is something that I'm going to create. This is something that I want to live in. This is something that I aspire for. This is something where I want my guests to come in. Utilization of landscape, utilization of interior design, utilization of the small aspects of lighting. I think this is what one change that we've done. If you see in the picture, this is the original concept where you see 40-meter two tall atriums with hanging trees. Nobody ever conceived it. There was one tree somewhere in Israel that was hanging, and people made a hue and cry and 1 million likes on YouTube. We have hung more than 17, 18 trees at different levels. So what was it? There was a second lobby of Wing B. We could have easily replicated it there, but we said no, we should do something different. So this was the initial concept. What you see on the right is the hanging planters in that atrium. The planters are more than, some are 8 feet in diameter, some are 10 feet in diameter, to take really, really big trees. So this is what we would actually end up doing at the end of the day. And this is what we would love to create as a final product. But this is what most of you have not seen. So, you know, repeating what we did in Atrium A, in Atrium B would have been gutless in our opinion. So we always love to challenge our own self. We said, why not create something that is different, that is more usable than just being visual? So why not create an adventure playground for kids and teenagers alike? Why not make use of volume to ensure that I have created something which is totally different? Create a concept of a floating tree or a floating pavilion or a floating machan, as you call it, and then use nature, which, because nature is our backdrop for everything that we are talking about, to actually enhance the space and make it more utilitarian. So this is the concept. We drove our landscape architect nuts because he said, oh, so this is what I want. And we never take no for an answer. So we actually drove him nuts to actually find out something that would actually lend use to that space, create a sense of wow. Because I think that is what you want. Look at the picture on the right. I think just having a simple atrium does not just make sense. I think if the way we talked about the master layout podium amenities, when we designed that, people felt, why create so many places? The space will look small, small, small. The answer is no, my friend. The space looks better because you experience it better. The aim was always to declutter. The aim was always to decentralize and de-densify amenities so that they are spaced out. People can use them in varied age groups and each amenity can be used differently. And things like intelligent elevators was something that we thought of already. We just adopted it. We just had to upgrade our software to ensure that we have touchless entry. Nobody touches any elevator panel. You can call the elevator from your mobile. If the elevator is under maintenance, you will already be informed. There is anywhere destination control system. So in terms of technology, wherever the technology has reached right now, we are already there and we've kept the backbone for any future improvement. So I don't want to go to individual amenities. I think the sales people have already shown you all this. The things about, you know, 2 separate ramps, the car parking areas, the way we look at landscape, where we look at indigenous nature of landscape. This is landscape without the trees. This is the landscape with trees. Whale of a difference. Simply because it is a softscape that gives life to it. The multi-level boardwalk, or the walk as you call it, at different levels, which actually lets you experience landscape at multiple planes, at the ground plane, at the mid plane, at the top plane. So you see the treetops, you see the branches, you see the foliage underneath. And everything has a thought. Why landscape at this height, at that level? Simply because this is a urban location. There is a problem that is called as an urban heat sink. So the amount of landscape that I have, the entire heat that is generated from the reflections of the glass, the reflections of the concrete, the reflections of infrared radiation that is all around, will all be absorbed by this beautiful landscape. The temperature on this podium is going to be 4 to 5 degrees lower than any other podium. I can bet you that, simply because of the level of landscape that we have. The kind of water body that we have a falling cascade. Why? Because I want to reintroduce that level of water vapor, that level of moisture in the atmosphere, so that it doesn't feel dry and sultry. So there is a thought behind it. Look at the level in which the pool was thought about. It is an all-weather pool. It is obviously there as a part of the lagoon. So you have a relaxing pool. You have a pool got an outdoor theater. You've got a leisure pool. You've got a shallow pool, you know, where people just come to fun and have fun and frolic. Then you've got the lagoon pool. I think I'm just skipping them very fast because all of you, I think, have seen all these images. And the Cascade Waterfall. This is what we are talking about. When the water cascades down, it loses heat to the atmosphere. I can use that to actually cool this entire place down. Then there are misters and foggers, and then there are actually speakers in this entire landscape, because my landscape has, or my environment cannot be dead in the night or in the evening. It has to be throbbing, dynamic all year round, all year round. So the kind of landscape or the kind of trees that we've selected will be flowering across seasons. It's not that only spring flowering is there. It will be flowering across seasons. Also, see this. We have a boardwalk on top. How does it help us? During the rainy season, if I still want to access all the amenities at different levels, it actually served as a covered walkway. So it actually serves both purposes. So there is a design and then there is a thought behind the design. It just is not done because it looks good, because it serves certain purpose. And I think understanding that makes sense. Having a large elevator with 7 feet wide doors to transfer your furniture, I doubt how many projects in South Mumbai or South Central Mumbai have it. And this is one of our projects. The speed of this elevator is almost 6 meters per second. So I think with the kind of speed that we are having, this is great. Facade lighting, something that we looked at. The concept of fireflies, where when there is pitch dark in the night, the things that you see in the atrium, in those hanging planters, would be just nice, beautiful LED lights, which actually replicate the concept of fireflies. Because finally, we feel that it is all about the ambience. It is all about the romance that you actually create. Because finally, the product is the same. It is a fine difference between eating out and dining. And I think that is what makes a difference. So long as you titillate all the 5 human senses of sight, sound, taste, feel, touch, and everything that goes into it, it will make an amazing, amazing product. Facade, I already spoke about. First time, full height, integrated, unitized sliding window. Interior design, I think Alfaz has spoken about it in a broad amount of detail. Spaces conceived by PIA. Alfaz, with all his experience in the field, I think he's in this field for so long that the amount of projects that he's done, you would possibly need to have a separate webinar for the kind of projects that he's done. But his experience lends so much amount of belief in the product. He's worked with us, great friend of mine, an amazing designer, has the thought of sustainability and all the things that he talked about in his webinar always at the back of his mind. So he's the person who's actually so close to art that he's almost engineered it and used it in all his projects. And since Alfaz is the one who's actually a consulting designer for this, he is the person who's actually taken over the mantle of the project management aspect of this. So it is in good hands. We have not left it to a typical interior contractor to get it executed because there is no soul. Alfaz brings the soul to our design. So PIA might be the designer who's thought about it, but finally Alfaz will ensure that that entire ethos of design will be translated into what we actually do in our lobbies, in our public spaces, in everything that we are looking at. I think all these images I just run through because it is very, very clear that this is what we have already seen. And things like
Atul.
Sorry.
Okay, sorry to interject you. We've been getting a few questions on chat, and I think this is a good time to sort of touch upon some of those. Because I think let's kind of get a few more questions in.
Okay.
One question that I'd like for you to touch upon is there's been a lot of talk about contactless interface. Right?
Yes.
Both in the common areas, also possibly in things like elevators, when you're entering the premises, when you're wanting to use some of the facilities. There's a lot of talk that's been happening around it. And I was also having a chat with Harun the other day.
Yes.
And ladies and gentlemen, Harun Siddiqui is the head of our mechanical, electrical and plumbing department and works very, very closely.
Yes. I'm not able to hear you, Shekhar. Sorry.
Can you hear me now, Atul? Is that better?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm saying, can you touch upon some of the, aspects of a contactless interface that becomes very, very relevant, important in a environment like this?
Absolutely. Shekhar, as I said earlier, we always had a backbone of design. And I genuinely feel that MEP services, that is mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and now low voltage. When I say low voltage, we are talking of internet-based services. We are talking of things that have to do with broadband, and that has to do Wi-Fi and all other stuff. We always had the backbone for it. So when we looked at the way everybody's talking of the new normal, right? The new way of life, the way people are going to live possibly in the immediate future and possibly in the far foreseeable future as well. So everything in Crown, right from the time you enter the gate, you're a resident of Crown, or even if you're the esteemed guest of somebody who is residing in Crown, every experience will be contactless. Right from the barcode that will be sent to your mobile phone, which you could hold close to a scanner and you can scan, so you don't need to press any button. You don't need to speak with anybody. You have a barcode, you scan it, and then you enter an elevator, or you can open a boom barrier. So that is one part. That is absolute touchless. Tomorrow you have a party at your house. What do? There will be an app. It will be linked to the central gate. Everybody who is either an announced visitor or an unannounced visitor will get that barcode. He just has to show that barcode at the entry. That barcode, once he enters, he will be direct as if he's a VIP entering Mantralaya. He doesn't have to stop at the main gate, he doesn't have to stop at the lobby, he doesn't have to stop at the elevator, because once he's known that he's a registered entry fellow, either a guest or a resident, he can directly use that barcode to access multiple points, be it the elevator, be it the entrance lobby, or be it the gate, or be it his parking slot. So I think as far as that is concerned, we are absolutely touchless in that context. Even we have gone to an extent of tying up with Pune to ensure that how the lift is going to be even called without me pressing a button of the elevator.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think one of the things that that's most being talked about is how do you access the elevator without having to touch it. So in my building, for example, people are using toothpicks, and there are different ways in which people are trying to call these elevators. So it's amazing to know that there is a potential of calling for vertical movement, in this case elevators, without actually having to touch an interface. Atul, the other thing I want to also talk about is, if you remember, there was this discussion that we'd had once about having some sort of a first aid room within the premises. Yes. And I think it's important to touch upon that aspect now, more importantly, because there is always a potential for senior citizens who are part of the community, for children and part of the community, and not just in terms of an epidemic, or not just in terms of a virulent situation, but something as simple as somebody having a fall, or something as simple as somebody getting hurt while doing some work at home. Can you touch upon how we are trying to create a little bit of intermediate or a paramedical scenario, a paramedical help station within the community?
Yes. I think, Shekhar, you've touched upon a very, very important and valid point, not only true from the current contextual point of view, but also as a part of the insurance of the project, so to say. So, very frankly, yes, is my entire gated community of Crown elderly friendly, possible to be used by people who are differently challenged or able? Answer is 100% yes. Design factors like providing ramps, no sharp edges, grab rails, senior citizen area, having a shower seat, all that we consider as something that we've already looked at. Having wider doors, Alfaz talked about it earlier in his presentation, having wider doors. Tomorrow you have a parent in your house who wants to use the place, how do I have those? So as a part of my design, as a part of build part, yes, but I think from a service point of view, also we have thought about a place where there is a designated place in the complex where a place or two parking places actually have been kept for emergency vehicles. It could be an ambulance or it could be a firefighting vehicle. So those places will always be kept vacant. Secondly, stretchers and oxygen cylinders permanently placed within the environments of the building in a place that is called as a multi-room. So what you actually mean by a multi-room is, on all the other times, it functions as a first aid room. In times of emergencies like this, can it be converted into an isolation center? Answer is yes. What are the facilities that we have there? We have an IED there. You see IEDs at airports, where tomorrow if somebody suddenly has a heart attack, that is the first level of first aid that is administered. So IED is there. Then there is a nebulizer there. Then there are essential first aid things. We've already done a tie-up, or we are on the verge of doing a tie-up with the doctor community over there, so that the first thing that I want is my person or somebody who is ill or somebody who has a fall, as you said, would immediately get first aid. So that is a tie-up that we are definitely looking at. because we genuinely feel that it is the seniors are of our community. I think that is where the legacy lies. It is a homage that we need to pay to them for the kind of service that they've given us. And it, I think, starts and ends at we being and always treating them being a part of the family. They never should feel neglected, because it might be them today, tomorrow it might be me. So I have to look at it from all those aspects. And Alfaz has touched upon it briefly in his entire presentation about location of light switches, location of emergency panic alarms, how that emergency panic alarm is actually connected to the main security. What is the response protocol that tomorrow if somebody has a fall, I am not in the house, how is that senior being attended to on an immediate basis? I think those are the things, and everything is connected in that aspect where our seniors, we want our kids, we want people who are dependent to feel very, very safe in the environment of Crown. So I think that should answer.
Atul, so there's thanks very much for it. And you know, there's a saying that time and tide wait for no man. So all of us like to think we're going to be forever young, but well, you know, obviously time's going to catch up. Atul, there's a question that's come on screen, and I think it's a very, very pertinent question. We are talking about a 68-story tower in terms of A and B, you know, and a 65-story tower in terms of C. Now, a lot of people might be moving into Crown or maybe considering Crown from buildings which are not technically high rises, right? So therefore, the question is, what happens if you are in an elevator, yeah, and suddenly the electricity goes off?
Okay.
Now, what happens is obviously people have this fear of spaces, you know, people feel claustrophobic, people feel, you know, they feel as if they are not able to breathe, and there's a certain sense of anxiety. So why don't you touch upon how we've looked at these elevators, also talk about the importance of a variable frequency drive elevator when it comes to not just safety, but also long-term reliability and lowering of the regular costs, including electricity consumption costs. So it's a good question. I think it merits an answer.
As I said, sustainability is one of the critical aspects on which we plan all our projects, and our design fulcrum revolves around sustainability as one of the basic parameters. We consider ourselves to be green developers. And I think it's something that we live by, both in letter and in spirit. So variable frequency drives are not only used for elevators in Crown or in our other Rustomjee building, it's also used for pumps or any moving apparatus, simply because it is the most efficient way to work. Why would I need to spend more electricity on an elevator if there is an efficient way available? So variable frequency drives for the machines, for the equipment, is something that is a given. Even if it costs slightly more than a regular drive, we definitely always go for the latest variable frequency drive. Now, in terms of high-rise building or other tall skyscrapers, I would say, which are more than 200 meters, Crown is almost 250 meters tall. When people move in, they've got genuine concerns about safety. They've also got concerns about traveling in an elevator. Now, elevators are obviously the nodes or the lifeline when it comes to vertical transportation. But we don't look at elevators only as vertical transportation systems. We look at them as mobility solutions. And there is a veil of a difference in it. When I'm looking at something as a mobility solution, any and every aspect of movement in terms of safety has to be catered. And I think, Shekhar, you've touched upon the right point. What happens in an earthquake? In an earthquake, when things are vibrating, the structure is moving, there are very, very fine seismic sensors in the elevator shaft. The moment there is an earthquake, which is actually going to deflect a building in certain direction, this way or that way, the sensors come into play, the elevator locks, the automatic rescue device that is there in an elevator trips in, and it brings the elevator to the nearest landing, and the doors open. So what do we want? We want the people to come out of the elevator. We do not want elevator ever to be something that we call in our language as a man trap. Correct. So people have to be safe. And I think that is the first thing that they want. So they need to come out. So we have a automatic rescue device which runs on batteries. So tomorrow, even if during such time there is a fire, or it could happen in any kind of an emergency, or there is a hailstorm and then all the lights of Mumbai go away, my elevator is running on a battery backup. It will bring you to the nearest landing, your doors will open, you will be able to get out of that elevator, take the emergency stair and go to your nearest plant. That is one. Second, all our emergency systems, whether it is elevators, whether it is pumps, whether it is emergency lighting, whether it is sewage treatment line, whether it is security system, whether it is internet, everything is on 100% emergency backup.
Beautiful.
So we have a full 100% DG backup, and as far as elevators, the second line of safety in case of any electrical failure is the automatic rescue device. So people need not be absolutely, they are in 100% safe hands. And one more thing, I think, Shekhar, that we need to actually tell all our clients is that Crown as a project, you know, we've always said customer first has been our motto, right? So our entire project of Crown is on 100% BIM platform. That is, the entire building is modeled. Each asset in the project is tagged. So ऐसा नहीं है कि today Rustomjee has made something, tomorrow Rustomjee goes away. I do not know where I procured this part from, where I procured this from. So every individual, when he buys the home, when he actually takes possession, we will be actually giving them a three-dimensional BIM model where all the assets, and when I say assets, the biggest thing that you should know always, Shekhar, from a resident point of view, is I obviously can paint a wall 10 times in my lifetime. But wo wall ke piche, the sockets where the plumbing line has gone, who has that data in real time? Nobody has.
Correct.
We in Crown are promising our end users that we will be giving them a built interactive 3D model that they can use anytime in the future. Tomorrow, if they want to do any renovation work, the as-built model will have all accurate MEP things that go into it. And I think that is so very important. Tomorrow, after 5 years down the line, you need to know from where you procured this item, who is supplied it, who is the vendor, who should you call. And I think that is something that is really important. And I think we need to really take care of it, because I think maintenance of a building, which is going to be considered as somebody's abode for decades to come, is something that we have to look at.
Atul, I'm extremely happy you've touched upon maintenance, because in my discussions with some customers, as also on different, other forums and on the chat that we are having right now, one of the common refrains in a high rise, I think even Alfaz touched upon it, is people are concerned about the maintenance aspect of a building or a community like this. And I think they would want to know, what is it that we've done as a developer to ensure that while there is a certain luxury and there's a certain hygiene about that luxury, obviously because this is an aspirational luxury project, how is it that we have tried and been as practical as possible to ensure that in the long run, the building is not saddled with unwieldy or needless maintenance or ongoing costs? So you may want to touch upon the kind of air conditioning we're doing. You may want to touch upon how we're going to use the condensate from so much air conditioning to sort of pump it back for water usage, and also the smaller things that, we keep discussing. I think that's an important aspect that that needs to be touched.
Absolutely, absolutely. Shekhar, I think buildings are here to last, right? So, at the core, all people have similar ethos. Luxury is now more individualistic. Your perception of luxury and my perception of luxury could be different. But having said that, quality of timelessness is of essence always, and it has to be relevant. So as designers, we strongly believe that each design has a social side. And I think what you're talking about is a social side that hinges on comfort and functionality in the long run. We want things to be functional in the long run. We want things to be durable. So in order to create this luxury environment that we're talking about, both external shell as well as the components that go within, they need to be conceived with a phenomenal amount of detail. And I think understanding the level of detail in terms of how we finalize a material, right from the way we select our facade, right from the way we do not want to have too many ups and downs, too many modulations in the facade, so that we don't have so much amount of dust accumulation. We have a 40,000 square foot of clubhouse space spread across Crown, or rather public realm space, enclosed space. Now all that needs air conditioning. Now when I'm using that air conditioning, at the same time, I also have an all-weather pool. What we are actually doing, we are taking the heat that is pulled off from those spaces and using it to heat the swimming pool water for the all-weather pool, which actually drops the electricity consumption or seriously reduces the electrical consumption with the help of using a heat pump by substantial amount, so that finally when everybody in the Crown gated community thinks about, oh, is running this club expensive? Answer is no. We've touched upon aspects of materials. You know, Alfaz, ourselves, the interior designer, our promoters who are so involved in the project. You know, they've gone to the level where we have worked out how many rupees per square foot are actually going to be spent for something. Is this light required? Is this light not required? Tomorrow, when Rustomjee exits and people actually take over, will this be used? Will it not be used? Can something be put to multiple uses? Today, if you see, majority of the buildings, clubhouses are empty and barren. Why? Because the spaces were planned not from a point of view of conceptual thought or from a well-designed analytical database. So the earlier slides that I presented on which facilities are being used in the neighboring complexes, what do luxury people buying in such luxurious gated communities, what do they want? How are these spaces going to be used? So we looked at all that. And consumption of electricity, small maintenance issues. You know, you could paint your house beautifully, but it doesn't make sense if you have got water leakages. So things about waterproofing. And I think these things are really important. I cannot say that I have done a beautiful building that leaks. It will be shameful. So having a facade that is 100% air and water tight, that is tested for 3.5 kPa wind load pressure. That is more than what Nisarga came, or 2 times what Nisarga was. So correct. Something like that is very, very important, because if facade leaks, it is game over. So for us, I think looking at all these minor aspects of making the building durable was something that had its own costs and challenges, but we ensured that we saw each and every level in detail. And you know, we have ensured that the design sensibilities don't get overly intense in Crown, because finally we want to keep the overall DNA to be very uncluttered, because people have to live there for a substantial time. And finally, the art actually, Shekhar, is in the mastery of balancing the elements of design. And I think that is what matters. Nobody understands the craft of balancing more, I would say, in today's context, than my good friend who's already given you his presentation earlier, Alfaz Miller. I think he understands that craft to the hilt. He understands art like nobody. So how do you make a space look beautiful? How do you make the space to be, oh wow, I want to live here? And at the same time, I feel safe, I feel comfortable, I feel happy living here. I think nobody can do it better than Alfaz.
Atul, just a couple of things before we move to Alfaz. There have been a couple of questions that I'd like Alfaz to answer. Atul, a couple of things. You know, one is there is a lot of talk today about ensuring environment-friendly materials. Ensuring green materials. To that extent, I believe we are one of the few developers to use paints that have a low volatile organic compound, or in fact no volatile organic compound, so that there is no carcinogenic fumes. There is really no environmental damage, so to speak. Yes. Also, things like rainwater harvesting for such a large complex. Things like how have we planned for water management? How have we planned for waste management and waste recycling? Are there chutes? How are we planning the location of the space where there will be the compacting plant, or the sewage treatment plant, or the waste plant? And how is it that we are ensuring that as a community and as a resident, some of these things which are day-to-day issues beyond the luxury of it, beyond the form of it, the functional aspects are taken care of really well in a project like this. So once again, just to kind of get you on the focus, the environment friendliness of the project from a paints point of view, material point of view, the sewage treatment plant, the rainwater harvesting, the waste segregation, and all of these other things, how have we planned for it to make this a seamless experience for our customers?
Shekhar, what you say is 100% right. Very few people ask these questions, and if somebody is genuinely wanting to know about it, I think I congratulate them, simply because the success of any project doesn't depend on how well it is designed, but how well it sustains the test of time. And if it sustains the test of time on grounds of maintenance, on grounds of facility management, I think we've actually rocked it. Very frankly, there could be a point of view or a point of argument on whether this building should have been this color or that color. But when it comes to things like, does do you have smell of sewage when you enter? I think you should not. So there are certain things that we consider as hygiene. There are certain things that we consider as sacrosanct to a luxury project, and those aspects have been taken care of, right from solid waste management. I think people do not talk about solid waste management. People generally talk about sewage treatment plants, but sewage treatment plants are closed systems. Solid waste management are open systems. So designing efficient solid waste management, where how is the garbage from your house going to be taken down? How is it going to be delivered? Where is it going to be segregated? Where is it going to be kept out? Do I have organic compost that is generated? How is that organic compost getting back? So we have something that is called as a sustainability balance. And I think in Crown, we've done that entire sustainability balance exercise, right, for garbage, for sewage, and the same thing works even for water. So whatever water is coming in, how much of that water has gone to the sewage treatment plant? How much water is recycled? How much is my landscape requirement? How much is my air conditioning requirement? So the moment we always try to achieve something which is called as 100% water balance. Whatever water is coming in, the entire water is getting consumed, where I do not want to depend upon the municipality for any additional amount of water. So I'm very happy to say that as far as Crown is concerned, we've nearly equaled the water ingress to the water utilization in 100% terms. So I do not want to be 1% burden on the environment. On the contrary, I would like to contribute in whatever positive way I can. So in terms of the trees, in terms of the landscape, all that is already there. You talked of volatile organic compounds in paints. None of the paints that you in Rustomjee have VOC in them. So that is a given. We do not want people over here to have any respiratory diseases, or so to say, whatever there is, because we feel the physical and emotional well-being of our people is extremely important. At the same time, things like radio towers, things like mobile towers, what is the kind of radiation that you get? What is the kind of heat ingress that you have? So all aspects of sustainability, if I would actually look at the LEED participation, if I actually take Crown and start counting my LEED ratings, I would possibly be in the gold LEED certification. So do I want to genuinely do it? People do it mainly because they just want one more certificate attached to them. But I genuinely feel that we should do it from a point of view of correct ethos, or the correct way in which we need to work. And I think that would actually make my project sustainable in the true sense. And I think Shekhar, in my opinion, I think I have covered everything that has to do with sustainability. So I think you can take Alfaz on if
Shekhar, you've accidentally gone on mute, Shekhar. You'll have to unmute yourself.
And just before
all right,
Shekhar,
Atul, sorry. There's a question. I was on mute. There's a question I'd just like you to touch upon it in very, very brief, so that I can go to Alfaz, because there's an important question for him to answer. Somebody said that given the fact that Mumbai has such humid weather, which is true, especially in the rainy season where precipitation is extremely high. There is a very common finding that all of us have in our homes, which is the moisture that tends to accumulate either on furniture or on other surfaces, or even on walls, in terms of droplets. Now I understand that we've got a fully openable glass facade, which is also unique in its sense, and therefore there is a huge amount of free airflow that's possible. But in monsoon, is there a way for people to look at dehumidifiers in their rooms? And what is your view on using dehumidifiers inside the home?
Dehumidifiers is a good thing, Shekhar. It's not a bad thing, because unnecessary moisture gives rise to fungus, especially if you are not staying in a room. So if you have moisture in possibly your wardrobe areas, it's not a great sign. But the basic thing behind it is designing air conditioning right, ensuring that the flow of air conditioning is such that I have enough amount of return air. All Crown apartments are centrally air conditioned. We are using VRV units. Yes. So they are inverter based VRV units of the topmost quality, which also ensures that the amount of electricity bill that our people are going to have is extremely less.
Correct.
designing the air conditioning right is the first thing, and I think we have taken enough amount of pains to ensure that that condensation will be least. Having said that, will it occur? 5-10% yes. Immediately when you switch on the AC, it's simply just the way you take a bottle out of the refrigerator and keep it outside. There is a condensate on the outside. You wipe it and then it's okay, because there is a stability factor that is achieved immediately. But it's important that I have the right number of air changes in the apartment. I have the right kind of air conditioning system design. I have the right kind of air flow. And apart from that, you also can look at dehumidifiers if it becomes excess. But in a general context, there is absolutely no need of dehumidifiers.
Great. Okay, coming to you, Alfaz. Thanks, Atul. Thanks very much. And if there's a question that pops up that deserves your attention, expect me to call out your name. Alfaz, I think one of the things that people are eagerly looking forward to in this chat is a few tips on the basic tenets of interior design. So two aspects to that, Alfaz, two aspects to that question. One is some basic principles, some fundamentals about interior space design that you may want to share with customers, irrespective of how they choose to do up their homes or with whom they choose to do up their homes. And secondly, in this situation, which is a post, pandemic situation, and there could be multiple such unfortunate, situations, or it could be weather related, it could be personal need related. Not all of it has to be to do with a pandemic. How do you think people's utilization of internal spaces and common areas within the complex have changed? What, in your view, are some of the things that people can do and they probably might want to keep at the back of their mind when they set about to design their homes, in this era, in this age? So the first part is some basic design guidelines, and the second part is how do we ensure that we use the spaces in the homes to kind of double up, maybe as a workspace, maybe as an entertainment space, maybe as a recreation space, given a situation when you may have to operate out of that space for a significant amount of time?
The second, the answer to your second question is very simple. It's just a matter of how you design your home to cater to your home working situation, your home office situation, maybe to do your exercises, maybe to do meditation. So what Atul has provided in terms of the glazing, it will cut down a lot of the noise, which is generally Bombay is a noisy city. And when you go taller, the high frequency sound increases. The taller you go, the high frequency sound, the sharp noise will come. So the whole envelope of the building caters for that. So for the working at home and use, it's a matter of detailed design. But generically, I would like to tell you that at least the common areas that we are responsible for, we will ensure sensible detailing, specifying the correct tested material for the correct application. And it's not just a matter of the material. The matter of its detailing and application has to be correct. We give you a building with nice wainscoting and skirtings projected out. We know that we'll have a cleaning problem. Why do you do that in the first place? So use the materials appropriately. And my tips to the homeowners would be, please do not cut natural light and ventilation. Do not design your interior by, if some interior designer comes in, he wants to keep a unit and block half your window, please don't allow it. Please don't cut down light and ventilation. That's one thing. Do not, in fancy designs of the interiors, lower your ceiling. Atul has gone to great lengths to give you a high ceiling.
Yes.
He's given you AC on the side. Don't lose that opportunity of the beautiful spaces which have been created in the architecture. Don't compartmentalize too much. Do flexibility and use materials which are not only sustainable but which are practical and easy to maintain.
Correct.
And all these are available. People who have done other projects in the past, their homes, they have learned it the hard way. They have learned it the hard way. Others who are the first timers, it will be too expensive for them to learn. when you've done up a home, because you don't do it all the time. So we can give you do's, don'ts, we can hold your hand, we can guide you. Behind Atul now, you can see a ceiling fan. You see a ceiling fan. I have designed for Mr. Jayaprakash-Gaur the JP hotels in Delhi. Mr. Jayaprakash-Gaur, the hugely successful school teacher who became an entrepreneur, his first mandate to me was, if you are the kind of architect who will tell me not to have a ceiling fan in my 5-star hotel, you cannot design for me. What does that mean? What does that mean? I tell people, yeah, we are in a tropical area. You may not be feeling well. You may not be able to take the temperature. Your AC may be down. Use a ceiling fan. So that's what I'm coming down to, using good, simple, common sense. And leave some flexibility. Leave some things for the housewife and your children to do. Your families have traveled across the world. Their aspirations are different. Their needs are different. Their needs are different. People sit on beds on their laptops and work the whole day. Position your furniture in a manner. If you're a righty person, let the light come from the left side, yeah, basic. Or if you believe in Vastu, do the practical Vastu. Don't get very finicky.
Yeah, there's a question about Vastu. There's a question about Vastu. Very interesting.
It's a very important aspect. People, especially now, as you get richer and older, and as you face a pandemic, people get insecure mentally. So they lean on practices. And Vastu is a scientific practice, but there is a certain practical way out of it. There's a certain practical solution, and Vastu can be used to benefit. If you need some advice, ask us. Please don't block rooms, don't block walls, don't. It's not going to make a difference. Vastu is of the entire community, of our entire country. So you can only do that much within your space. So just be practical on the Vastu side. Don't break things internally. My other thing is, don't go quietly and fiddle with our bathrooms. Here is a developer who's going to lengths to handle your services. Don't, because an interior designer comes in and says you must have the shower here and put the WC on the ceiling. Don't do that. Don't do that. We will not allow, in fact, we will not allow you to do that. But please don't do that on the sly.
And the other thing that will not allow you to do that is gravity.
Yeah, so please, there is a project. We are making an appeal to you. Atul and I are making an appeal to you that this project, with the encouragement of the developer, has been designed with a lot of thought and passion. There is a reason why things are done like that. In your thinking, please try to appreciate the reasons. And there is one thing. I mean, so I hope I've answered the question. There are so many points. We can give you pointers what not to do, what kind of lighting to use, what kind of fabrics to use, what kind of flooring to use, how to do up your bathrooms, what appliances to take, what needs voltage stabilizing, what doesn't. The success of a project would be that I could get Wi-Fi on my iPad in a bathroom. You should get a signal in a bathroom. Today we are all connected. We want signal everywhere. So these are things which is the reality, which is also the millennials expected. So these are also, keep that balance, take a sensible approach. It's not about pretty decoration only. The pretty decoration you'll enjoy. You want pretty decoration, you can do it in a very simple way. And the other thing I would like to tell you is, why do the foreign architects who come and practice in India use my granite, use locally made stuff, use locally made Bharat tiles, and we want to go and buy soft Italian marble? Why? Don't we have enough stone in the country to offer? We are making everything. And for what we don't make, There are lots of appliances available locally. German companies are here.
Yes.
They are giving you everything. They are giving you everything. And do a smart execution of your interiors. Set up your interior designer or contractor with the time that only 4 months you have to finish my work. Don't start, it's like, don't try to assemble your car in your house. Do not. Buy a CKD kit and assemble it.
Right.
I mean, those days are gone. Where in my garage, I used to buy the differential and buy the axle and then start making a car. Those days are gone because a car is available. It's available, beautifully engineered, reasonably priced. Get that in. Use it. Our ready-made industry has grown so much. And as the country says, make in India. We have enough talent, we have enough materials, both natural and man-made, to be able to do this. So this, I hope I answer your question.
You've answered my question, Alfaz. Thanks.
Yeah, I want to say something more.
Yeah.
Finally, I want to give a message.
Sure.
There is a full commitment from me and Atul. See, as architects and designers, we can visualize. We can show you pretty pictures. Like a good dish. I can show you a gourmet dish. But the taste of the pudding is in the eating.
Yes.
So this has to be implemented well. That is why Atul and I have teamed up to ensure that whatever we are showing you, whether we are showing you a hanging garden or an 8-foot pot hanging, anything, any thought which is not implemented properly has no meaning.
True.
And there is a serious intent to do that, my friend.
True.
To all the people who are listening, I am here to ensure that it works. Today, you've been to the Mumbai International Airport. I mean, the SOM are the designers, GVK are the master planners, but in some of the packages that we've done inside, I mean, they are working today. You have seen that art wall, stay in the hotels there, see the retail, see the immigration counter. Things are working. Things are working and they are meant to last. So if you see any of the projects which we've been involved with, my firm has been involved with, I have clients who don't leave us for 30, 40 years. Why? I don't need to go and shop for work. It's because you make a serious attempt to resolve these issues. And I and Atul assure you that with your support and with your partner, we have a little patience under the curtain. We will deliver the project which we promise. I mean, that is not my one, but I'm saying from a design and implementation perspective, we will implement it. We've already started implementing before the lockdown, your banquet halls, your spas, your guest rooms, all that implementation has started, has been set back because of the lockdown. But otherwise, it was all going tick, tick, tick.
Absolutely.
So, Atul and Alfaz, both of you, one thing that comes to mind when we were talking about the interior spaces, like, is obviously the great floor to ceiling height, that we have here. But also the fact that there is this beautiful adjoining area that we're calling the foyer. So when it comes to looking at a situation where you have to work from home, or when you possibly want a small recreation space, or as we call it, Atul, the my space, doing things that make you happy. Do you have any thoughts or ideas on how these spaces can be utilized once the building is ready and people can sort of start looking at utilization of these spaces?
Shekhar, you got multiple options. Atul will tell you in detail, but you got multiple options with all that he has described. You want to go far to the club, go far to the club. Just come down in your foyer and sit down there. It's so pleasant. It's air conditioned. You want to go to the nearby garden. You want to take a little stroll on the walkway with your walker. So there are multiple options available for all age groups, for all health conditions. Everything is there.
No, I was talking, Alfaz, about the space which is right adjoining the homes, and I think there is a great potential to utilize that space as a small home office or as a small place to entertain, people, depending on what every person's individual requirements are and individual choices. And ladies and gentlemen, for the larger audience here, I'd just like to touch upon one very interesting thing. Alfaz, you mentioned Make in India. I'm taking that one step further and saying Atmanirbhar. We are extremely happy as Rustomjee to also announce that very, very shortly we will be talking about a full-fledged interior design services firm, that will help our customers to do up their homes right from the planning stage to the rendering stage to the consultative approach to doing the interior design to execution and also the furnishing, the furniture, from the A to Z of interior design. And the beauty is, because this comes backed with the name Rustomjee, our interior workers will be screened. They will have the necessary wherewithal and the expertise to do the work, and they will have the entire blueprints, like Atul said, of where is it that the electrical conduit is going, what is happening in the bathroom, and where are the pipes running from, what is it that you can technically break and what is it that you can't break. What are some of the things that you need to do when the interiors of your house are being done, so that you are able to fully leverage what the developer has already given you, yet give it your personalized touch. So it's great to have you with us, Alfaz, and I'm very happy also to announce that you will be, a very, very important part of the design panel, and people can reach out to you should they wish to use your services. And I'm sure that will
certainly
ensure a stellar job. Atul, a very important question. Is our building earthquake resistant?
In more ways than one. Goes without saying, Shekhar. In high-rise buildings, actually, for the benefit of a larger audience, the larger part is played by wind and not by earthquake. So when you look at tall buildings, which are buildings more than 30 stories tall, actually you have wind forces that predominantly exceed the earthquake forces by hands and leaps. So if a building is designed for wind, which is basically sway, it is definitely earthquake proof. So as far as earthquake is concerned, we are in Mumbai in zone 3. Our building is 100% earthquake proof. And generally people ask this question to me: how much Richter scale earthquake can my building take? A very standard question that I always have. Unfortunately, Richter scale is a measure of intensity of earthquake. What we design for is when an earthquake hits, it depends on the place, it depends on the epicenter and the Richter scale, because earthquake is logarithmic in terms of the Richter scale. The amount of intensity that my ground is accelerated at that moment of time is what we actually consider. So if you ask me to just give you a layman's figure, my building would very easily sustain a 6 to 7 magnitude of Richter scale earthquake. So that is a huge thing, my friend. But
Yes.
because it's already designed for a larger stress buster called wind, I think there is something that is already inbuilt. So if I have already packed my clothing for Antarctica, then Manali doesn't seem cold anymore.
Well said. Atul.
So that's what I have.
I think these are all the questions we had, and it's been a highly engaging and I'm sure a wonderful.
Just a parting comment, if you.
Yes. So I'm going to open the forum now for any closing remarks that Atul you have or Alfaz you have that you'd like to leave this audience with. And in case they have more questions, or in case they wish to know more about the design aspect or about anything in particular, what is it? Where do they reach out? And maybe Zubin can be the point of contact for that, Atul. And as you end, there's one more thing I want you to touch upon. I mean, Alfaz touched upon the need to use or possibly the possibility of using equal quality or better quality Indian stone or material and machines which are built in India now, or material available in India. I want you to touch upon this huge 2.5 acre podium garden that we have, and the fact that by default, Rustomjee will ensure that the flora, the vegetation, the plants, the full-grown trees will be completely domestic and completely local, because that's the only way that they will survive, they will thrive, and give the much needed support in the long run. So over to you, both of you gentlemen, for closing comments, and Atul on this flora angle.
I think, Shekhar, landscape is something that is genuinely very close to my heart. And we consider it as an integral part of design. We consider it to be something that Crown will stand for. It will always be remembered for. The flora and you touched upon only the flora. I would actually say the fauna that comes with the flora also is equally important, because at the end of the day, we have seen sparrows vanishing in Mumbai. We've seen parrots. So what about the indigenous birds that are there? Have you ever seen a crow or a parrot ever sitting on a coconut tree? Answer is no. So why? Because, or a eucalyptus tree? Answer is absolutely no. Because eucalyptus is an Australian species. Whereas what we intend to do, like I may love olive tree, but olive is a tree where it is a Mediterranean climate. So I want to have all those indigenous species and equal amounts of flowering as well as non-flowering fruit-bearing trees. Trees that give shade, trees that flower all the year round. There is a mix of evergreen. There is a mix of trees that look beautiful. There is a mix of trees that flower in springtime. There is a mix of trees that flowers during early spring, late spring, even during monsoon. So when I'm actually moving on the podium, I have to actually have that smell of Ratrani, because that is what titillate my senses. I am not going to see the foliage of the trees in the night, but can I smell flowers? Answer is yes. Should the trees look beautiful during daytime? Answer is yes. So indigenous nature of design is what we genuinely look at. And when we say sustainable design, or design that is meant to stay, for the first time ever, we are using the Miyawaki method of sustainable plantation on the podium. We have tried it. We have ensured that that thing survives. And when I say sustainable landscape, it is how our jungles survive. There is a complete biocycle that is in play, where somebody's the fruit that falls down is germinated. It actually goes into from a plant. There is layered shrubbery. So there are small plants, there are shrubs, there are trees, and then there is everything else. So, and this juxtaposed with water, which is actually what gives it the flavor of nature that we actually want. And, you know, my parting comment, Shekhar, as I would say, is, you know, finally, I would say that you need a Rustomjee home in Crown, if only for the pleasure of leaving it when you are out at work yearning to return.
Beautifully said.
Community means that you are not alone. And knowing that in the people, the trees, the earth, there is something that belongs to you, waiting for you when you are not there. So I think I would say that this is what I want my project, my Crown, to look like. And I genuinely feel, and Alfaz has already said it before, we've crafted each of our projects, and especially Crown, with a lot of passion and care. And I think that is, I would sure you would be extremely happy. For all those customers who already bought, it just should reaffirm your faith in our project, in our brand. And those who just on the sidelines waiting to book, I think you would, I'm guaranteeing you, and you know, Alfaz has already said this before, that you would spend some of your most amazing memories of your life at our project. So I think that is all that I have to have. Thank you.
Alfaz, anything you?
Yeah. It's good that the projects which we have designed for Rustomjee and others are playing in the background.
Yes.
I would like to say very little now in my closing remarks. I would like to say that this project is my ikigai. Ikigai, please Google it. Please read that book.
Yes.
It talks about all the aspects of human wellness, which one should aspire for. So we take this very seriously. What you're seeing now is the gym at Elements. I mean, this is where Bollywood lives. This is where all these actors exercise. It's a wonderful thing. And yeah, this is with the passion. You know, we've done the indoor games, we've done pool rooms, we've done. This is an indoor game facility for Rustomjee. Who does all this? Yeah. Go ahead. Next. This is again the first class lounge at Mumbai International Airport. Wonderful. Has over the years, year after year, won the awards for the best lounge in the world. This is another lounge in the same airport, done at a more reasonable price. But if you see, it's the design that is important. It's not just the materials. Go ahead. Next. This is the Taj Bangalore, opposite the airport. This is again the Taj Bangalore. Go ahead. This is again the Taj Bangalore. Pia was involved. Yeah. This is the hotels at the airport. Go ahead. Yeah, so that's my message.
Thank you very much, Atul. Thank you very much, Alfaz. I'm sure it's been the passion with which we are making these homes, I'm sure, has been seen and heard by our customers today. There's just one line I'd like to add for everybody. Obviously, a lot of our customers who've booked previously in the past have been waiting for a long time for their homes to get ready, and I'd just like to use this line which says, difficult roads often lead to beautiful destinations. And let me assure you, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Rustomjee and both these gentlemen here, that we leave no stone unturned in ensuring that you come home to a marvel, you come home to a destination which is as beautiful as you've always had it in your minds, and maybe even more. With that, thank you very much for joining us. Zubin and his wonderful team will be happy to answer any questions that you have which we've not been able to cover today because of our focus on design. We are always there for you with whatever it is that you need, and we'll do our very best to ensure that we give you a living experience which is completely which is unparalleled or non-perennial. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. Thank you, Alfaz and Atul, once again.
Thank you, Shekhar. Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you for having us. Yeah.
Have a good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.